I am an IT specialist. I work for Contractor B, but originally I was electrical engineer. I made my grading Venezuela specialist in communication. Then I started to work with electronics design and computer. From the very beginning with microprocessor, basically 6800, the Motorola one.
Oh, okay.
And then I switched to something else, a newspaper, and do many different things, especially in operation and maintenance of electronic for design pages and this kind of thing, graphics thing for the newspaper. And finally, I landed here in the state, working for the software environment in the company.
Okay.
But I remember something about that.
Frank, what was Frank? He was 68,000, 6,800 with AT&T. Frank, another guy that's not here right now, was heavily involved in doing the 68,000 for AT&T. One of those guys. Well, good. Good to have you here. We're tinkering off and on with the Arduino, and we have other things going on. Raspberry Pi, showing down here. Oh, here comes another one. Come in, automation technology.
Yet another long lost.
Okay, introduce yourselves, please.
I'm Corey. I know next to little about programming and all of that. I handle mostly passive electronics and power supplies and stuff like that. I do dabble with coding now and then, so got a few things.
Okay.
Bruce Calder. I work in IT, but I dabble in Arduino and other microcontrollers just for fun, building projects and that kind of thing.
And this is Leroy, Project Monster.
I'm Leroy.
Owns our guest,
I
Junior here.
I tinker mostly. It's mostly tinkering and mostly in robotics, and
Therefore I am.
that's pretty much it. And Arduino, and I have dozen other microcontrollers and microprocessors. So I am always open to suggestions if somebody has some project that needs to be done or can't figure out something. Ask me. If I don't know, I can figure it out.
Okay.
You're up.
I'm Taylor. I get my hands dirty in whatever I can. So
How'd your CNC go?
it's up and running. I've got the table fully built. I'm planning on tearing it back down again to swap a couple things. But all the controllers are up. I've got video and pictures of it. So.
You're building a CNC machine?
Yeah.
He built a CNC, and now I guess you're tearing it apart.
It's an ongoing thing, and I've actually started purchasing the components for my second CNC machine that I'm going to build specifically for circuit board prototyping. So,
Is this something anybody could do, or?
if you have enough time and patience and money, it's becoming a lot more expensive than I kind of figured it would be. So,
Well, welcome to the world of Hero Junior.
yeah.
We should turn him into a CNC machine.
Yeah, the Hero Junior is
Put a little laser on it.
1984 vintage.
84, 85.
Yeah.
You're up.
Name's Dave, hobbyist.
And Jeremy,
Who's
I'm
that?
a software developer, same programmer, and I dabble in the Arduino as well as the other do-it-yourself electronics like that. So, yeah.
Unlike you, not only do I not screw it in, my PC does not even have threads, so you don't have to worry about that. That's one thing he is meticulous about. He will screw in the cable connectors. Go ahead.
I'm John. I started out in programming back in 62 or 63 on Fortran 2 and and taking courses in COBOL and
Fortran 2, we were wondering if there was a Fortran 2. When did Fortran 2 live?
Why start with Fortran 4?
Four.
the size of your, it's smaller than your telephone, your phone, as far as
And we had
capability.
1600, I think it was, but it was a monster. It started out with like 100K of memory, and we jacked it all the way up to 8K. It was process control for international paper.
My first one was a Wang.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It was a desktop here. It had for the paper.
I don't know why it does that.
I remember
It just
those.
started doing that.
Those are still around.
I never worked as a programmer ever, but I studied. I have a PhD in computer systems analysis, and I worked at, mostly I've been in
It's real low
sales,
resolution now, though.
Tektronix and Hewlett Packard and that kind of stuff.
Brian's here. This is Brian, our youngster for the group, and he's in college now. What are you in? What's your field of study? Computer engineer. So we got pretty well rounded, if you would. This will get you on our distribution list for the meetings. You'll be notified. I'm pretty tight with email addresses. If you want to distribute yours, I don't care, but it's my job not to distribute it, is to respect your privacy. So I don't generally don't unless if you ask me to. I mean, I've got no problem with it. Alrighty, we want to do voltage first, or we want to do hero first?
I want to do the Hero first.
Hero
It's got long wires. I don't know.
Okay.
Do what? What are we doing?
You want to do the hero first? Does that sound good?
Sounds all right to me, I guess.
Would you prefer to do the voltage, for him to do the voltage first? 2 days. 15?
It doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter, okay. We'll do the hero.
It really doesn't matter.
No, it's just a sign up. See if I can read the email address.
We can take a poll. Who wants to do hero stuff first, or who wants to do?
I vote here to get it off the table.
Is that a Z or S? It's a Z.
Z, double Z.
Hey, he needs to see too.
Same in the idea with Z and Z.
Oh, okay.
People don't allow it.
That chassis looks ancient.
It
Oh, there's
is.
spritzing, huh?
This is that program that you were asking about.
Now, this,
Oh, I think-
now, can you do this in a video?
Yeah. No. Well, you make your
These make slides.
it makes like a JPEG,
Okay.
and
Making this online in a video, I'm sure there's stuff that does that, but it's probably not free.
you make like a JPEG of what it is, and then you can import your JPEGs into your video. So,
Now, he was drawing them online, which is
he
one step past that. But
may
yeah,
have been.
slides is good for me, and that guy needs a beating anyway.
So,
Is that something free or you?
Yeah,
pay
it's
for
free.
that?
it's free. But all at least the majority of sites where you find projects and other such things, they all use fritzing.
Wow. We need to have a session on fritzing.
That's a good idea. That's a great idea. I tried to use it one time and I got frustrated and quit.
I've used it a couple of times, and
I was going to suggest you volunteer, but on that basis, maybe not.
No. That's why I'm anxious for somebody to show me how to use it properly.
Oh,
I don't know if I know how to use it properly. I screwed around with it a couple of times. So, anyway, I guess we'll go with Hero first, get him off the table so we can see what else is going on. So, everybody is aware, or most people are aware, that I've been working on this project for months now, and finally got him to the point where he's alive and working and running. And he's from 84, 85. He's got an Arduino Mega in him. New ultrasonic sensor, new light sensor, new sound sensor, which at this moment doesn't seem like it's working right.
When you say sound sensor, you mean like microphone?
Microphone.
Okay.
Pretty much all the hardware has been upgraded to something modern except for the motor and the stepper motor.
Is this his tail?
This is his charging port for right now. So
I am a head hero junior robot. I came online.
Cool.
I was restored by Leroy Miller using modern electronic hardware.
Well done.
The current battery voltage is volts. Test 2 ultrasonic test. Chip.
there's some issues I've got with the program because when it first starts, it doesn't read any of the sensors right.
Does it need a delay?
Yeah. Yeah, it needs a very long delay apparently.
I will tackle.
It's toggling the LEDs right now on its head.
Is the one brighter than the others, or is that just my angle?
No, it
Test
looks like
1
one
drive
right.
motor forward.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Test 5 drive in. Test 6 turn left 90 degrees.
I don't think I quite got 90 degrees right either, but
That's a pretty close.
And back.
I don't think you got it right.
Test 7 turn right 90 degrees.
yeah,
And back.
I need to maybe adjust the,
Oh, wait, I'm looking at it.
Light
backwards.
sensor.
I'm
Test
wrong
20
direction.
degrees.
it depends on which direction you look at it, right? So,
I didn't hear a thing. Test 10 I will sing to you. Daisy, Daisy, you I am crazy all for the love of you. It would be a stylish marriage. I can't afford a carriage. But you look sweet upon the seat of a bicycle, Bill's boy do. And one more song. Bonarpa speed on grade 200 right square bracket 10-0. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
ultimately, I want to put a real time clock in it so that it knows certain dates and does certain things. Basically, we'll sing happy birthday when,
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
I read something that the Curiosity rover on Mars is programmed to sing itself happy birthday.
so it's going to restart here, and when it restarts, it'll actually start reading the sensors.
I was restored by Leroy Miller using modern electronic hardware. I will run some self-tests now. Test 1 voltage reading. The current battery voltage is 12 volts.
Why is it going through the whole
Test 2 ultrasonic test.
sensor?
I've just got it in a loop right now.
Current distance from closest object is
Now, is the voice coming from that one chip on there with the LED that turns red?
Yes, that's the EMIC 2. You weren't here
I will
last week. I
toggle the LED
played
on
around
and
with it last week. To answer your question about the LEDs though, I only have one resistor in line. They're all connected together straight through, and that's the way they were originally.
Yeah.
So the first one is bright and all the rest. So if I turn on any of them, it'll be bright until I turn on something else. Does that make sense?
The series versus parallel configuration. It's all off.
But that's the way it was originally, so, and I'm not screwing with it.
She's not turning right.
You do turn.
Probably. I may have it backwards. Don't let it fall. And it's not exactly going exactly where I think it should go when it's turning. The fact is the drive motors are working, and that was a big, that was a big deal. Now it's just a matter of figuring out what numbers I need to send to get them to actually do what.
So what about if it was that out on the floor, could we go around and say, oh, there's a wall here? It'll do that now?
Yeah.
Is that a different loop or?
I don't have any of that programmed right now.
So why didn't you use like a Pi or a BlackBerry? What is Beagle Bone Black?
Well,
BlackBerry.
a BlackBerry. I went through and this is all my notes. But I went through several different ideas about how to actually make this work.
Yeah.
And it finally just came down to keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it.
Right.
And
I think if he gets this working, he could do an interface to it to send commands down from Raspberry.
Yeah.
well, and I'm one of the things that the original Hero had was a wireless option. It was a wireless remote control that worked on 23 megahertz or something. It was basically an RC car back in the day, maybe 74 megahertz. So I'm seriously considering sticking one of the cheap Wi-Fi adapters in here so that I could do the same thing, only with modern. And that also eliminates the need to carry another onboard computer.
Right.
So wheeling him around a little bit, let everybody look in him because it's a mess in there, but I think people.
The original serial number and all that on the Rascal 2.
And you see, the original could be programmed via RS-232. So I stuck the USB cable, 3D printed a cover. I could plug a USB extension cord in there and reprogram it. So,
Are there any other heavyweight chassis available nowadays?
oh yeah. You don't know the whole story. I found this guy 3 or 4 years ago. He had been in a barn for 20 plus years, and he had various and sundry small creatures living in him, and he was just downright nasty. And the motherboard, ultimately, I got it to power up a couple of times, and it cycled through its self-test a couple of times, but ultimately the motherboard failed. So I went on what am I going to do with this thing? It was really cool to just have it sitting, but I wanted it to work, and I wanted to keep it as original as possible because it is a vintage robot. But the only way I could even think about trying to get it to work again was put modern hardware in it.
Is that the original motor drives on it? Or?
That is the original motor drives that I was having such a. You want to know what the problem was? I mean,
it sounds like the original computer button. A button.
The ID10T. problem.
A moth stuck in the relay.
The Leroy not connecting a ground where a ground was supposed to go problem.
Oh,
Check your grounds.
That only took me a month to figure out in 3 other stepper motors. Well, I said, I mean, I spent a little bit more extra money on this than I really wanted.
Yeah.
The EMIC speech synthesizer, it's getting hard to find.
How do you spell that?
EMIC, E-M-I-C-K. Parallax made it. It is getting hard to find. That was a $50 speech synthesizer. So everybody who knows me knows that I go cheap. I couldn't go cheap on that. I just had to spend money on that one. But I think it was worth it. The motor drivers were our cheap motor drivers, $3 or $4. The Mega is a Chinese clone, and it was $11. The photoresistor sensor was another couple of bucks. I've got less than $100 invested in it and a whole lot of time. So the only other, I want to add, the other option that it had was passive infrared. And I'm thinking about that, but that's going to change the way the front of it looks because the new passive infrared doesn't quite look like that. So I'm kind of toying with the idea of sticking a modern passive infrared. And wheel that guy around, let other people look at him. Or everybody just get up and come and look at him.
Bluetooth. If you want to come up and look at him, feel free. Stand right here.
So is that a regular DC motor and then a stepper motor that turns it?
Going into a gearbox.
Okay, yeah.
And the DC motor runs full speed, always. If I
Yeah.
try to slow it down, ain't going to happen. Ain't going to go
The
anywhere.
DC motor rotates it, right?
No, the
Yeah,
DC
stepper.
motor makes it go forward and backwards.
Oh, okay.
The stepper
So
motor
high
rotates
speed.
it.
You
Okay.
can't do pulse width modulation on that?
Not going into the gearbox.
Looks like the
Wait,
stepper
I'm sorry,
motor is,
what?
the stepper motor's tied to this wheel, right?
This is
The stepper
here.
motor turns
Oh,
it.
that's not the stepper motor. Okay, I
Yeah.
got the which one's which. Okay,
The stepper motor turns it. The DC motor drives it.
okay.
If I pull the DC motor out of the gearbox, I can make it go fast or slow.
Okay.
As soon as I stick it into the gearbox, it has to be driving it at full speed. Otherwise, the gearbox
doesn't have
doesn't turn.
Okay.
So pretty much the speed that you saw it moving,
Yeah.
that's it.
You got slow or slow?
Yeah, and,
Speed.
and even if I try to slow it down, it just sits there and makes that.
Yeah.
So that's,
Have you made it through yet?
Oh, yeah, you just walked in.
Oh, now the battery's dead.
Looks like a
We need to do
little
another
left
demo,
for
I
someone.
think, because Kenny didn't see it either.
Yeah, I found him over at the children's book.
No comment.
too bad I can't, I don't have a program right now to skip through demo.
That's
The
what-
keypad works. I just need to figure out what I want to use the keypad for.
Battery voltage is
How many beers?
Balls.
did you?
S2 ultrasonic test.
I like how it says
Yeah,
ultrasonic,
Test
ultrasonic.
relay.
The only other thing that I know for sure,
I will title.
because when I was testing it at the house, I turned it off when the turning motor was turned and it didn't put it back
Test for drive motor forward.
to its original position.
That's not speed.
Test 5
So I
drive left.
I need to find a way
Test
to
6, turn left 90
get it to
degrees.
home where the. That's not
And
quite
back.
90 degrees.
It did turn left as far as the wheel rotation goes.
Test 7, turn right 90 degrees.
Yeah, so
Turn the
left is,
wheel right.
And
so
back.
so the left is right and right is left.
Well, it's the way the wheel
Just
turns.
fade
Left
right,
did turn
that's
left,
Yeah.
but it rotated
But
left.
you're going backwards on the drive.
Test 9, can I edge? I didn't hear a thing. Test 10, I will sing
The
to
axis, the
Daisy,
wheel.
Daisy.
So you can pick up a voltage proportionally when he is, so when it stops and then the power comes off, you say, I am in 45 degrees. so
Okay.
I have to move. So you make a feedback loop and you pick up the position from a simple rheostat, you know. You know, potentiometer, but the
Yeah.
axis you couple to the axis.
Right.
So when they, in any position, you know where it is. All the time.
That actually sounds too simple.
Well,
It's called closed
Well, you
loop
said
feedback.
you like the simple solution, right?
he's got a stepper motor. I mean, he can just count the steps.
Yeah, but.
No, you can't.
Stop it.
Can't count the steps.
You can't. Once you lose the power,
You don't.
it always.
Oh, you need to go to zero.
Yeah.
You need to home it, put a stop on it. So.
But if
right
it
now,
loses
goes-
power somewhere along the line,
First
there's
thing
no
it
way
does
to.
is it go to zero.
It can't go to zero if it has no power.
When you turn it back on, it goes to zero.
That's what I'm talking about.
Just
That's
put a
what he's
stop on
talking
it,
about.
Put a stop on it.
With my motors, my steppers, what I do is, when power on, it cranks it all the way one way.
Yeah.
Hits the stop, and then goes all the way around the other way, and then goes back to center. That way it knows exactly where it's at.
Yeah, you probably do a flip down stop, huh? Solenoid operated stop. So the stop only comes on when you power it and you go and hit the stop, that's zero.
It has one on there.
Oh, it has a stop already?
Yeah, it's got the big old spring
Oh,
on
okay.
there.
You're fixed. Every time you boot it up, it's zero. It doesn't have a stop, though.
It doesn't have to
Yeah.
stop.
So you
It-
can spin that all the way around until the wires twist off.
Yeah, you put a switch on it, that's it.
Use an optical sensor. I mean,
Yeah, or switch.
I kind of like the rheostat idea.
Rheostats stink. They get noisy after a time and you have to have a linkage. and all
Are
that.
we using rheostats for his robot arms movements? Yeah. So you don't mind using rheostats for your screws? I don't know if it was listening or sensing.
All I really know for sure is I've got to do something.
Yeah, where you gonna mount a rheostat on there?
Where am I going to mount anything on there?
Well, you can put a switch right here. Put a switch right on this, a little bump on this, and a switch up here. When it rotates, it clicks the switch when it goes by.
that's actually the easiest solution.
Yeah, and I'm all about easy.
It's not accurate.
And he's all about cheap. It's the cheapest way too.
Is that aluminum or is thing steel on there?
So it's steel.
Okay. Stick a neodymium magnet and put a Hall effect sensor on.
Oh,
That way there's.
I like that idea too, yeah. I like that idea too.
Yeah, that's a good.
See,
Idea.
that's why
That's
There's-
what
there's
I plan
so-
on using. for
there's
my-
so many different ideas to make this work. It's just,
I plan on doing the magnet and Hall effect sensor for the limit switches on my machine. I don't plan on cutting steel, so I don't have to worry about crap getting into the magnets. But
Or you could do Hall effect, or you could do a bank switch. Either one, it's a switch.
Yeah.
Switch by any other name.
well, mechanical switch. I mean, there's no nonsense with that.
Well, a Hall effect is solid state, so
yeah,
I
probably a little more precise.
I just want to point out that I've tried to use a mechanical switch for the garage door opening thing, and Jim shot that idea all down.
Yeah.
But
Hall
now
effect.
he's saying mechanical switch.
Oh, okay. It's not.
That was last week.
Yeah.
This week.
This is a pretty precise thing compared to a garage door. Trust me.
oh yeah.
The tolerances on a garage door are not anywhere near that. are much greater.
I don't like to mess with anything that has like murder springs inside of it either.
So he's going to get you.
Okay, Corey.
Did you guys want to see the code? Or do you even care about the
Oh,
code?
show us the code. We can say we talked about code.
So we actually did stuff.
What's this from? Oh,
I'm running it on Omega. So pretty much what I've done is I've created a whole bunch of little function calls. And so inside the void loop, you can call each one of those functions, and the functions that are supposed to return something will return something, and the ones that just are supposed to do something will do something.
Let's see if I have
So-
a cord.
I've got a function called test, which is that we just ran. So even if we're doing another program, if we program one of the keys to kick into the test function, it would go and run that exact same program. Sorry?
Is all in one file?
It's only, I think it's only like, it's 15K.
Wow.
And the Mega's got 256. So I've got plenty of room to play around with.
So you don't really have to split it out, but it's kind of getting there.
Now, the song, did somebody sing that song into it, or was it just typed words? Or how did it know about changing the?
So you missed last week's thing. So the song is called, where does it go? So this is the happy birthday one, but all these extra little things in brackets, it has what's called a DEC talk phraser.
Okay.
And the things in the brackets tell the phraser, phraser how to phrase stuff. So when you're trying to sing or whatever, you're using phonetics. So HXAE is ha. That would be the ha part of happy.
PPI, PIY.
Right here where it says HXAE, that's ha. And then there's pi.
Happy
Okay.
birthday.
And all these in the brackets tell it the pitch and the inclination and the speed.
Huh.
So
That's a lot of code. Did you do that, or you grabbed it from someone?
I did not do that. I found that, and you'll notice for sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it does. I'm not real sure why, but when it first tries to sing happy birthday, it reads this part of the code right here, just straight off of it, and I'm not sure why, and then it sings it and it's perfectly fine and happy.
So how does it just take raw signals for the sensors and warm inputs and whatnot?
The photo sensor is analog. The mic sensor, the sound sensor, is digital. The e-mic uses one of the serial ports.
Okay.
So it's just serial.
Does that function normally on the first startup? So I'm wondering if you have a serial buffer that needs to be cleared.
I actually
That's why-
actually clear it up here. I flush
do?
it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
Okay.
It didn't make a difference. I think it needs a longer delay. It just needs to sit and wait. Let's see. I'm trying to find Daisy. I don't really know where Daisy went.
I see listen in there. Where
The ping sensor just works like the ping, like a regular ping sensor.
see
Listen,
listen, does it take an input, voice input?
it's a sound sensor.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
for breaking glass.
I called it listen because there's something I read somewhere that it had a listen function originally. So this is its listen function. I'm trying to,
But it's not like saying, okay, Google,
no,
and it'll
No.
do something.
I'm trying to write the program or write programs for it that would mimic the original in many ways, even though it's on modern stuff, using modern hardware. So there's my motor drive, this is where I put in stops inside the program so that I couldn't turn the wheels all the way around even if I wanted to. But I suppose if I had some sort of sensors on there, I could stop it hardware-wise too. There's the light sensor, the voltage sensor. I think that's an analog voltage. Yep, that's analog as well. This is the test function calls all these other functions to do stuff, and then it will compare, you know, whatever it needs to compare. Like down here where it says, talks about hearing something, can I hear a sound? And then it says, please make a sound, which for some reason isn't working. It's not saying that. And then it'll either say a sound was heard or I didn't hear a thing, and it does say I don't hear anything. So that tells me that something in that code isn't right, and I'm not real sure what. And I've sit there and stared at it, so staring at it doesn't work.
Did you try pounding your fist?
I tried this.
Oh, that didn't work either.
That didn't work either. But there's something in that little section of code that just isn't right, and I don't know why.
I've worked in the PLC world, and what the PLC world is like is you have an I/O processor at the bottom, typically a PLC, and you get it all working, and then you want to tell it to do something, you go to the PC, and you send your instructions, go forward down to the guy that handles the I/O. Because, you know, in the real world, you're reading encoders and all sorts of crap that you need to be totally dedicated to reading I/O and not fooling around with trying to open a file or anything goofy like that, and not trying to synthesize speech or anything like that, or listen to something, because it just takes too much CPU power. PLC does the I/O, it's very fast, it does it great, it does a control, and anything intelligent goes on up above. And get that bottom part working like you got, and then get that all going like you want it, and then send instructions down. That'd be great.
The speech synthesizer actually, it's got its own little processor on it.
Yeah.
So you shove over what you want it to say, and you can go off and do other things while it's still talking.
Yeah, and you could do voice recognition
Well,
on the high end, and if you want to send instruction down, you already got the USB. It should be very simple.
so this is one of the very first things that I actually stuck in there that wasn't part of the original. This is the Cylon where the lights will move back and forth like a Cylon or the Knight Rider. So that was something I stuck in there just for fun. And then there's where I give myself bonus points for actually getting this thing done. So I got him working on the 9th at about 6 o'clock. And the program that I had loaded at the time was just a Daisy program. So it just came on and it sung Daisy and everybody was happy and things were done. And I went, oh no, I've just made HAL. I've made HAL 2000. So
Just don't go out there a lot.
just don't go out there a lot. That's it, I guess. Unless other people want to know stuff.
You could do Roses Are Red, Valentine's Day for the wife, you know.
I plan on putting a whole bunch of extra songs and stuff in there, but and if I can get the either read the time server clock or put a real time clock in there, I plan on having it, do various things on certain days, which is one of the things that the original apparently could do. It was real simple stuff, but apparently the original had a real time clock in it, and you could set it to guard your house at a certain time or do stuff at certain times.
Always wanted a Roomba with a little airsoft pistol on there.
Anytime
it sees the cat or somebody else, it just
That wouldn't be hard to do because I got plenty of Roombas.
Marty, can Corey use the cable?
Oh, do you need the cable?
Power cable?
Yeah.
Oh, power cable.
Yeah. Is there a choke filter on that VGA cable?
No.
Let's kind of just that. It's not necessary. I've been using this 2 feet away from my computer, so.
Kaboom. Yes, but now you're.
Well, you got a 20-something foot long
That's-
cable with no choke on it, so. How do you screw these in?
Leroy.
I didn't do that one.
Leroy made me. You want me to get it?
You're in the IT world. You know you should screw those things in.
No, I'm in the IT world, so I don't screw them in because I know sooner or later I'll remove it.
Funny, all mine are screwed in at the house.
You know, screw it in, so then you'll get a repeat business when you hit it when it breaks, right? For HP, right?
You take off, you open up the case, replace those 6.3 volt capacitors with some, 2 volt capacitors. Or crazy long cables with a choke on it.
There's a shorter one, but that's it. This is what was in here.
Anybody with pacemakers?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Right next to my heart. Right here next to my heart. I get on the other side of the room.
Inverse square law.
Yeah.
Should I hide my phone?
Parts aren't replaceable, phones are, so
So what's this demo?
that's debatable.
This is a high voltage demonstration.
High voltage transformer.
It's high voltage out here.
I could probably have someone pull the schematic up later. It's a very readily available schematic. Uses 2 resistors, 2 transistors, and some wires. And the transformer is actually pulled from an old TV. Real simple to set up. Took me just a couple hours just because all sorts of problems. This one's putting out about 60,000 volts, I think. I'm also underdriving it dramatically. It's supposed to get about 20-something volts and put on 12.
So are you aware that there's an alligator tip on the back here that's touching 2 wings? Okay.
What this is, this switch, when I hold it, power supply turns on. If I get shocked, in theory, turns
How
on.
many people have been shocked by more than 10,000 volts before? Quite a bit here. They're backed off, seem to be backed off for some reason.
It tickles.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully nothing pops. Things tend to break when I move them.
I remember one time I was using a Van de Graaff generator.
Oh, boy.
And I stood up on a glass blocks and that, and ran the voltage of it, and my hair would stand up straight. And all of a sudden I got an arc from my shoe through down to the ground.
I was holding a hollow aluminum pipe, touching the Van de Graaff. I was on like 6 feet of milk crates. I tossed the pipe to somebody. They didn't catch it. It went, the pipe had enough of a charge to smack them a little bit. Touching it, I didn't want. It's not too much,
Yeah, that's not too bad.
but it is high frequency, so I should be able to shove my hand in there.
Why would you want to?
Because you can.
Because it's there.
Oh, discharge. Yep. I think it's got a half-wave rectifier in there, so it does build up just a little small static charge.
Some people say that smell is the smell of ozone.
It is.
Other people say that smell is the ozone attacking the membranes inside of your nose.
Is it on? I just don't think it's enough. I don't got enough power on there. I didn't feel any static charge coming to me, so. That's it.
Okay. Did everybody see the spark?
Yeah, it wasn't much.
I could hear it.
Yeah.
I
But,
could plug it back in.
yeah, plug it back in and show us, make sure everybody sees the spark.
Sort of like a
Do you have the light switch over there?
Yeah, you can actually turn it off now.
Except for the security lights.
Actually, it did go off previously.
Okay.
Yeah, I see.
It's jumping on the back as well. You've got arcing between the pins.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's why your spark is suppressed. It's arcing.
Oh, wow.
From the alligator clip
Yeah, let me
to another pin.
Corona discharge.
see if I can.
That's a 20,000 volt alligator clip, isn't it?
Well, I can tell you it's not a 10 amp one.
Yeah.
Worse.
Worse, yeah.
Yeah, you made
It's
it.
really arcing now.
Got a good spark.
That's why you get.
Yeah.
Oh, do it to the other side.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you generate the spark to the other side, mate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if I do that, though, I'm worried the screw's going to fall out because the screw in there is just held in by gravity, really.
Your clip came out? Okay.
Yeah, I was about to just turn it on anyway, but it's all right.
There you go.
I could stretch it. It looks like about almost 10 centimeters, I'd say.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good
centimeters.
one there.
10,
Millimeters.
Couple of
Yeah.
centimeters.
about 1 centimeter.
What do you need in order to modulate that so that it would play the music?
Square wave. All I gotta do is put a square wave on the DC line, and it should work. I've seen people actually get real audio from it, not
Yeah.
just chip tunes or something.
Right. Yeah, I've seen.
Singing spark gap transmitter, Leroy?
Oh yeah, well we discussed that a couple of weeks ago.
But this is half wave rectified, So some of those projects like that anti-grav unit, I could probably just plug it in as is. Personally, I'd probably put a capacitor on the output just because halfway, I mean. Oh boy, that's toasty.
Last weekend, I volunteered to be an usher at a heavy metal concert called Arc Attack.
Oh wow, that's cool.
They had Tesla coils about this big, two of them on either side of the stage, and they were playing music with them. Then a guy gets out in a metal mesh suit, helmet on, and his guitar was synced to the coils. So you go, ding, 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 you go, all right, it's working, and then he starts blasting away on me. I'm sitting there with fingers in my ears, you know.
We'll play Iron Man by Black Sabbath on there.
They
That would
played,
be
Dr.
glorious.
Who's,
Yeah.
theme song and Darth Vader's music.
I am in the process of designing a newer Tesla coil. It's going to be about 900 watts. I have helped build one before that was 30,000 watts. That one, a little dangerous. The it was putting out, I'd say almost 10 million volts. It's about, not 10 meters, I'd say probably 10 to 15 feet. Usually it'll jump 1 millimeter per 1,000 volts, starting at about 3,000 volts-ish. But this one, the arc was too hot. It was too much current, and I wouldn't want it to jump to anybody, regardless of what's going on. You know, chainmail suit and all that.
Yeah, they were taking volunteers from the audience and putting them in a box.
Okay.
Faraday shield.
Yeah, I wouldn't be bothered by that.
They're putting volunteers in chainmail? No, don't do that. Right. All they gotta do is claim they felt it go through the suit.
Yeah.
And they're not wrong. It does go through the suit.
They're giving them some guidelines while they were in there. I thought one of them
Don't
was probably
stick your
like,
pinky
don't
in.
stick your fingers through the things.
Actually, it should be don't get your fingers near the cage because it will penetrate fairly a few millimeters beyond. That's why every single microwave door you've ever seen is about 2 inches thick. It should be able to partially penetrate half of the wavelength through a Faraday cage. I think.
They're asking these teenagers to dance in the cage. Yeah, who wants to come up and dance in the cage?
I think I've
I bet
come
their
to
mothers
the
are proud.
conclusion that I want one, but I want it to cut metal.
Yeah, that's what
Was
I'm.
there all-
I'm working to get
Yeah.
mine to that level.
Get into it.
The thing that's stopping me right now.
Once they get a hold of the proper power supply, I should be able to get probably 4 times as much out of this. The transformer will not survive.
Uh,
I've got
Thanks for the feedback.
wow.
Does everybody here know how to use ATX power supplies like this? Everybody does?
Go through it real quick, Lars.
Oh.
That's a PC power supply. I recognize that.
Yeah, PC power supply. If you ever want to use these for a project, they're fantastic. They provide stupid amounts of current. They've got overcurrent protection. Like this guy, I had a dead short on this. Turned it on several times, no problem whatsoever. Turn these on,
And they're cheap.
they're dirt cheap.
They're cheap.
I just picked a 500 watt unit for a benchtop, and it was $15.
Yeah.
I don't care if it dies. I'll get another one.
I've got one of those that I used to have in my computer. I upgraded it, and I took it completely out of the case, put a terminal block on it, and separated all the voltage out, resoldered the lines in.
Yeah.
The only issue I've had is they don't handle repeated surge currents very well. If you want to draw 1,000 watts, you got to let on easy. I had one connected to a subwoofer, and the main filter. Yeah. Eventually, the main filter caps vented, and the amplifier was underrated. Like it was probably 300 watts on a 1,000 watt power supply.
I've used them to charge a car batteries before.
Mm-hmm.
How many different output ranges do you have on?
You got 3.3, 5, 12, and then technically you've got negative 12, but it's only like half an amp at most.
Yeah, there's also a -5. It's but very small.
Yeah, there's a
And
-5 in there.
there's two different types of 5 volts on there.
There's the 5 volt that's always on regardless of the power state,
Yeah.
which is kind of it's a good feature to have.
Yeah, it's
It handles dead shorts also.
and if you have it hooked up to like an Arduino, and you can have the constant 5 volts powering the Arduino at all times, and then whenever the Arduino receives the signal that it means, it kicks on the rest of the circuit. So
On the newer ones, there's a ton of space to play in on the inside of these. Like I've got one that's got
Just get the touch sheet.
Just get the touch sheet.
no, it's got a buck boost circuit in there.
yeah.
So I've got like 0 to 60 volts output, put an LCD display on there.
Red is always 5.
Oh,
Orange is 3.3.
Yes. Purple is always on, yellow's 12, red's 5.
Black.
It doesn't matter which power
I
supply is
always
on,
get that
it's
one
an
confused.
ATX.
Yeah. What does that do?
okay.
When you wire things up and it has some random color, and that random color with the white stripe, is the white stripe positive or negative for you?
I consider it a million volts. I mean, I just check.
Like, well, no, it's like if I have a speaker wire or something. I usually put the white.
Usually it's gonna be hot for me.
Yeah.
Usually I make solid ground.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's just my general rule. It may or may not be correct.
I just,
If the stripe is red, it's going to be hot.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought red and black was always hot and white.
Black is always ground
Always ground.
unless it's in a bundle of cables, in which case, who knows?
So the green one.
Be aware that the black ground symbology is electronic symbology,
Is wrong.
not electrical
Power.
symbology.
Yeah, I was thinking of power.
Not house wire.
Yeah.
That's my mistake.
For us electronic people, we learned.
I still
I-
get that backwards, and I still.
Yeah, I just did.
I always try to use, when I'm wiring up a test or a demo, I always try to use red and black.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just can't do it, so sometimes you just don't have enough wires to do it.
Most of my cables come from power supplies that I've like used for benchtop power supplies.
So with that, that's a transformer from a TV.
Yeah.
Would you benefit by getting a transformer from, say, a microwave?
Those are really, really crazy dangerous because even though they only put at about 2,000 volts, they're upwards of a half an amp to 1.5 amps.
Okay.
I had one on there's a 10 gauge power cord, and the cord started to combust.
I've seen YouTube videos.
Yeah,
Ouch.
those are things I don't play with anymore.
There's a thrift store in Fairfield called Valley Thrift, and they usually have the old CRT TVs for under $1. And they're full of parts. I mean, just crammed full of stuff.
Older is better, and once you've got the old one, bigger is better. But age is definitely far more important.
I've got one if somebody wants it.
They're on Craigslist, just pretty easy. The transistors, they're $1.50 or less. They're 2N3055.
I might actually have a stack of those.
I'm sure you do.
Just
I mean-
went through one of my boxes.
They're great power transistors, and I mean these have been abused so bad. I'm surprised they work.
Actually, I probably have plenty of that. I have a box that came from a closed TV repair shop probably 15 years ago. And it's just crammed packed full of power transistors and all kinds of stuff. So if anybody really needs some of that stuff, just tell me and I'll dig through the box.
Speaking of closing, is Radio Shack, are all of them closing
No,
or just
half.
some of them?
Part of it, yeah.
And what, the one up in Indian Springs here by Walmart on Princeton Road, they're closing. I saw that sign today and I thought,
Middletown's closed.
Yeah, that was the one out by me up in Fairfield. No signs of any
Then it's probably not closing.
fully functioning. Nothing on that.
Then,
Yeah.
then it's probably not closing.
I saw a whole bunch of Radio Shack stuff start showing up on Amazon.
And eBay.
Yeah.
One thing about this transformer, you actually you have to rewind the primary the coils. It's got two sets of coils. One is the pickup coil. It's 2 turns, center tap, 2 turns. And the other is the power coil, 4 turns, center tap, and then 4 more turns. Did I say how it worked? Like, what was driving it?
You said the 2 transistors and 2 resistors.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's a monostable circuit or whatever the.
You said it's a
Multivibrator.
Royer.
That one.
You said it was a Royer circuit, right? Royer oscillator.
I just said it was a multivibrator. There's Hartley and Colpitts, but it's none of those. That's high frequency stuff. That's just multivibrator, I'm sure.
It just puts a DC.
Powers off of it runs off of the transformer to help switch it back and forth.
Right. When the core is saturated, it switches signals.
Yeah.
It's a push-pull. You can do it with one transistor also.
Have you seen those diode capacitor voltage doublers?
Mhm. They
Have
work
you
with
ever
this.
played? Have you played with those before?
I have the parts for it, but when I started building it, it just got so huge just
Yeah.
because I used 1,000-volt diodes, and when you get a string of 10 of them, and then more and more and more, it's like, geez, you got this huge board.
Yeah.
So the only way is to purchase expensive diodes.
Well, you can, if you have a 12-volt power supply AC, or 12-volt AC somehow, you only need diodes and capacitors that are rated for that 12 volts. You don't need 100,000 watt or 100,000
Right.
volt
It
diodes.
needs to be rated for the input.
Right. So, I've been wanting to build one of those, but I have no need for it.
Yeah, I think it's called a Walter Cockcroft, I think.
Yeah, I was trying to look up the name, but I can't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Walter Cockcroft. I've got,
Cockcroft Walton, I think, is
Oh.
where they use it.
okay.
Right name, but
Yeah, I've got plenty of high voltage capacitors though.
Yeah.
Mendelssohn's.
Did you want to show the circuit
Sure.
on this? Okay. Let me get out of this screen.
You know, you don't necessarily have to watch what's going on the
I just
meeting.
wanted to make sure these guys realize this, some of this is live and they can get to it
Oh,
if you're not here. Doing a little
Is it
promotion.
posted in the email?
yeah,
It's in the meeting announcements.
we've been doing live meetings for, I don't know, a month now. Maybe a little bit longer. Because,
That's my feedback. Somebody was on vacation
yeah,
in Texas, I believe.
I was going to the airport on the cell phone. It was bad. Okay.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, that's just a basic multivibrator circuit. Very simple, back from day one.
And my power supply on the 12-volt line is only 5 amps, so I know it's drawing less than that.
The 27 ohm 2 watt and 220 ohm.
Yeah, someone told me that 27 ohm is not necessary. I shorted it while it was running and made 0 difference. It does not get warm.
I'll put that on his corner if anybody's interested. Anybody know how to do print screen on Windows 8?
the same way.
Uninstall and go back to Windows 7.
Yeah, that's good. No, how do you do it in Windows 7 is what I need to know. Windows
There's
8.
a print screen button.
You hit the print
No.
screen button.
You hit,
You hit
okay.
print screen,
You hit print screen, then you gotta go somewhere and paste
No,
and
it.
this pane.
Hit Windows print screen and it'll save it to the file. Yeah, Windows print screen, the Windows button print screen, it'll save it to your file
I just
automatically.
pulled the snippet
And it's
tool.
under pictures print screen. Screen
I
print.
use the snippet tool because I've always got multiple monitors and I hate having to trim it down.
If you do Alt print screen, it only captures the active window.
Well, yeah,
I use
Uh,
Linux, so
I
I
don't-
don't care.
I don't know if that's the
Yeah.
Windows phone. Yeah, the
Linux
Green
does not
Trend's
support my video
another
cards, so
in the old
Linux is
days?
not getting my
Really?
support in.
What do you got?
I've got, well, my primary card's a 480 GTX. That's powering my 2 monitors.
Well,
And
it's NVIDIA. That's your problem.
Well,
You know what
the
Linus
best part
Torvalds-
is the best part is I have one NVIDIA and one AMD. So the only way that my second video card would come is a PCIe 1X video card because it's all my motherboard supports. And I had to get that to support the TV. So
Try all the NVIDIA drivers.
I've tried everything on that, and it won't boot if I have both cards plugged in.
Did you just like cut the back of the PCI 1X slot off and shove the 16X in there?
I don't know if that would work or
It
not.
absolutely
'cause I've
does
got-
work.
it does.
I have those running right now. My Bitcoin
Because I've
server,
got it.
my
Yeah.
Bitcoin servers are that way.
Well, that might work for Bitcoin. I don't know if that would work for a full-fledged video card because I have
Well,
video
how do you
card.
think I get into the Bitcoin monitor, the server to monitor manage it?
Yeah.
I didn't play any games
Internet.
on them, but
I might have to hack up my motherboard to try that because I do have another brick of a video card that I want to run, but
it wouldn't be good for gaming just because you've got like 1.2 gigabytes per second or something like that.
Yeah.
But for video out, fine. Yeah.
can I play YouTube on my upper monitor?
Definitely. I
game
mean,
on both of my bottom?
If all you want to do is 1080p and you're not doing gaming,
Yeah.
it's totally, it's not even saturate that much.
If your power supply there's, if you have multiple voltages coming out,
Mhm.
if you have a 5 volt and a 12 volt,
7 volts, yep.
and if they're not referenced to ground, they are? Okay.
They definitely
So
are.
which ground?
Because my
Earth
PC at
or
home,
Earth ground?
I'm too cheap to buy a fan regulator, so I put a switch on there to go from 12 volts to 7 volts on the fans.
The, if they were isolated from one another, you could put them in series and add the voltage, but if they're referencing ground somewhere,
Yeah,
it's
they're
not
all
gonna work.
referencing ground.
Okay, or if you had a separate unit, you got another one, you could,
Only
That
if
does
they're
not
on,
work.
only if they're on
because,
separate sections of your power transformer on the pole.
there's a transformer in there, is there not?
Power supplies
No,
are
they're not.
referenced to
There's
Earth
not.
ground.
Never mind then.
It just uses a series of giant inductors, and they're all a little bit different, but there's nothing acting as a transformer.
Power supplies are referenced to Earth ground. So even if
But
you
the
have-
secondary, the DC side, really, if they reference to earth ground, that's fine. Yeah, that's true. Okay, probably they're all full.
Does anybody have a meter with them?
Not that we let you put on
I-
that thing, no.
Well, not that. This.
Yeah, okay, but they're all referenced to ground, okay.
Well,
They don't have
I was
isolation,
told-
they have to have isolation from the AC. They have to have isolation from the AC,
Yeah,
but
it's
they're all
isolated from
grounded.
AC.
Oh, okay.
But I was told that the DC ground, your load for all the lines.
If you don't pass the ground into it, it's not referenced to ground.
Yeah.
That's true. They just about have to not reference it to ground except through the ground cord because it'd be,
well, what happens when you plug
you
in?
need to be
When you plug
insulated.
into a device that is referenced to ground, you're going to have some serious problems.
That's right.
So it has to.
So that's why you have two, both of them make sure you're not referenced to ground. Or then you're gonna have high voltage connect to it. It's probably not a good idea.
Because I had a TV that wasn't. I broke the pin off on the ground, and I was getting about 50 volts on the HDMI cord between the TV.
Sure. Yeah, the standard used to be if it doesn't have a ground cable, you need to have two forms of isolation, and one of them was a transformer, and the other one was the plastic knobs or whatever. That's the old days. Yeah.
In the 12-volt rail on power supplies, they usually have one or two separated rails.
It's almost always just one, unfortunately.
Is it?
Almost always. You gotta pay a little bit extra to get those multiple rails.
Yeah.
When you do that, you have to absolutely know what you're doing, because if some novice gets it, wants to upgrade their video card, good reason, upgrade the power supply, and they overload one of those rails, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Um,
The power supplies that I've had for my
Don't touch the circuit board. If you look in there, there's really nothing big enough. I think this is 200 watts.
180.
It's just 100 watts, 95 watts. Yeah, there's really nothing really big enough in there for a 95 watt transformer. 95 watt, it'd be pretty huge.
So on a hockey puck DC power supply, the voltage coming out is not isolated from 120?
Not really. They just use a.
It should be isolated. What?
Yeah.
Is it referenced to earth ground?
They don't really use transformers.
Because there is no earth ground. And a hockey puck just has two leads typically.
Right.
You plug a hockey puck in, then your output lead should not be referenced to ground.
Correct.
Okay. It's totally isolated from the 120 volts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that has a metal case on it that also.
Exactly. If you have a metal case now, it has to be grounded.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
If you have an old tube radio, the case is going to be grounded.
Right.
But you have a transformer in there, all the voltages are isolated from ground.
Okay.
And then there will be, typically is a link to ground. But think about it, the old radio cases, a lot of them didn't have 3-wire connectors. They didn't have a third prong. So I can see why the case would be referenced to ground. With the ground, they're going to pass the ground. Now they're going to have a chassis ground.
Yeah. Oh, these have these almost always press. Yeah. There's your chassis ground right there.
Yeah, you got a third wire on your plug. Yeah, absolutely. But if you didn't have a third wire, yeah, you wouldn't be able to get to the metal case. The metal case would be isolated from everything else.
Yeah.
And the voltages would have to be independent too. So, okay. It's grounded.
Well, one way to test it is to power it up and put 12 volts to the case. If it works.
It will.
Oh, if it's grounded, you can just check, see if it's grounded. Seriously. Yeah, you have a positive and negative wire on each supply.
Right, but they're all the same ground.
They're all the same ground. Okay.
Yeah. On the inside, they go into a giant hole.
That's what I ended up with this robot. I ended up tying every ground there was together.
Oh, okay.
It just solves a whole lot of problems.
Yeah.
And that's, extra pound of wire you don't have to pay for it, pound of wire you don't have to look at.
Every ground.
Now talking about
For my machine, I've got 2 independent power supplies that I'm using for it.
Your desktop?
I'm sorry?
Your desktop, you mean?
For my CNC machine.
Oh, okay.
I've got a 24 volt, 15 amp power supply, and I've got a 48 volt, 7.5 amp power supply. Both of them have they're all screw terminals. So the neutral, high, and ground from your 120 volts goes into each one independently. I've got the 24 high and 24 low, 48 high and 48 low. Is 48 low and 24 low going to be referenced to ground?
What kind of power supply is it? Switch mode or transformer?
Switch mode.
It could be non-referenced, but
Because I have them separate right now. I don't know if it's a good idea to bring them together.
they might cause noise problems too, because they're running at different frequencies. I don't know what that'll do.
Yeah.
Get a resistor, put it between them, and see what voltage you cross it. I mean, you should get almost zero volts between the grounds.
Yeah.
But of course, you won't get 0 volts. It'll be a little bit.
Yeah. As of right now, I just have the grounds separated on them. I've got them identified separately and they're fused separately, so.
Really, it all comes down to, can you afford to replace them?
I don't care if they blow up.
There you go.
I just don't want it to take out all the drives and the drivers and equipment, so. If they blow up, I'm upgrading them.
Is this how I want to do this, guys? To his robot? You've got a charger which will boost up charge the battery and also drive the robot.
No,
Well, let's just talk about how you do it, and then you can do whatever you want to do. The charger.
the charger is not connected. It will not power anything but it will only do the battery. It goes through a relay.
It will only charge the battery.
Correct. So if the charger's plugged in, you cannot power.
The unit and charge the battery. Oh, okay.
It's an all-around bad idea because the voltage coming out of that charger isn't going to be 12 volt. It's going to be.
It's 13.8.
Yeah.
Or somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I've got the charger going into a.
So you put a regulator here, huh?
No. Well, yeah, I guess there is a
To
regulator.
keep it at 12 volts.
No.
Or could you do this? This is the question I've had. If you got 13.8 volts and you put a diode here, what's the voltage across the diode? 0.7 volts?
0.7 volts.
What if I put another diode? 1.4 volts?
Yeah.
Is that true? All right. Why couldn't I do that to drop the voltage down?
Why do I want to drop the voltage down?
To keep it below 12 volts?
I don't want it to power the robot while it's
Right.
charging.
You don't
It's
want
just a bad idea in general. I would be surprised if it was actually DC 13.8 exactly, no higher at all. Usually on chargers, the voltage will be higher than you're expecting.
Sure. It is.
That's why a 12 volt system charges 13.8.
If
Put a voltage regulator here then.
I don't want it to
The diode over here. We don't, it's not gonna feed back that way anyway. It'll be down here if it's anywhere. Oh, okay, you can put
That way you never charge it.
we want the diode, okay, he doesn't want, okay. We actually want to put it where the robot only works off of the battery.
But-
Now we need to switch.
that's why you have a relay.
Okay, then never mind about the diode, you just need a switch.
Okay, so what happened before I put the diode in there? The relay's not fast enough to unswitch itself, and it was still getting power coming off the battery.
Okay,
So
what you do
so
is you take the robot.
I put a
Thank you.
diode in there, and now I can switch the relay on and off, but I'm not so sure that the charger's actually doing what the charger's supposed to do.
If you thought about
Here's
using a
your
MOSFET instead.
robot, and here's your switch.
And no, actually, I just tried a diode, so.
MOSFET's got a diode.
Here's your charger, and here's your battery. Okay, you will be on one or the other. You can never have both. This is just a relay. This is a contact on the relay, single pole, double throw, and you'll be on one or the other. You'll never have both. And
In theory, but it doesn't work.
Okay, what about like,
it's a wiring problem.
Can you
okay,
get,
in the old days, you had the cheap radios and you plugged, you could either go off the battery or off a wall thing. It's a physical switch. If
Yeah.
you're plugging it in, it switches.
Yep.
What about that? It's not a relay, it's a physical
Yeah, you can do a
switch.
physical switch. And what
I know
you
it's
do
simple.
is on the switch, the robot will be connected to this,
Well, okay,
and it's impossible to connect them to both. Can't, it don't work.
that's its charger.
Well, that's not
This-
gonna work.
Now, unless I strip that off and put a barrel connector on there.
Charger and a bat. So only one's going to be there at the time. The other problem that you got
It's physical switch as a relay right now.
Is to power the, when you power the charger on, when you power the charger on, you switch it to this. Okay.
So how do you put the diode fix your relay problem?
Okay, so if we go up here, look at what Jim just did over here. This is what I've actually got. Jim making a mess over here on the board. So you got. Oh, red does not work. You got 12V to 5V feeding from charger. Also comes down into the other side of the relay. I'll draw it backwards. So the 5 volt tells the relay this goes off the ground. So the relay gets 5 volt in and kicks over to this side, which is where the charger's connected. This goes off to battery. And this goes to robot. So you gotta have the 5 volts to kick the relay over. And when this is the normally open side and this is the normally closed side. So when you lose power, that goes away and it goes to that. Yeah. These two are connected when it loses power. Well, what was happening, this relay is real slow. It's real slow to react to change. So it was still connected, but the charger was off of it and was coming back up and it was still feeding the 12 volt light. So I stuck a diode right here so it can't go back up. And that fixed the problem, except now I'm not so sure that the charger is actually sensing that the battery is actually charged or not charged. Because the charger is supposed to switch itself off.
Will this be a solution for you? That relay is the only tricky part, is finding the proper one with that sub-milliohm.
Hey, you're putting an inductor in there.
Not necessarily, it's a relay. I forgot to draw the box around it.
Yeah, I didn't probably do that either.
The wires are a little squiggly.
Yeah, I like squiggle.
Those are wires. Some of them. We'll go ahead and throw that up on the board.
See, I actually think that the relay I've got in there can switch over to 12 volts as the trigger too. So I may just be able to eliminate that stupid little regulator I've got in there and solve the whole problem in the first place. Maybe.
The only issue with my design is just making sure that the relay coil isn't too resistive.
Well, he can try that at home, and we can look at this next week. We're running out of time. So, anybody have anything for next week? Anybody interested in? Oh, Leroy's got junk. Anybody have anything for next week?
I always have junk.
Yeah. No. No Raspberry Pi.
Not really, but these are just an interesting topics.
Yeah.
Well, not really for a meeting, but on Tuesday, this is sort of tangent. Well, like on Tuesday, I was at the local functional programming meeting where we discussed functional programming is entirely topic of itself, but it's not necessarily function language, but we do discuss like new languages and such. And we had a presentation where there was an introduction to a language called Rust.
Like terminals backwards.
And a new language called Rust.
Okay.
It is about 2 years old now, so it's fairly recent. It hasn't hit 1.0 yet, but this is somewhat interesting because Rust is intended to be a sort of more like when you think of new languages, you kind of think of like higher level languages with garbage collection. Rust is intended to be sort of C or C++ level language that takes some of what has been learned of language design over the past few years, incorporated at that level to run at that speed, somewhere in the neighborhood of that speed. And so I got curious and wanted to know if it ran on anything like Raspberry Pi or maybe Arduino. Turns out it somewhat does. Rust can run on Arduino too. That's it. And it is theoretic. I guess it is an LLVM language, so it is theoretically possible that it may just run.
There should be, once you get to this point, there should be ways
for that yet.
you can get around.
I guess probably because it hasn't.
This will
yet.
be as fast
But
as
it does
possible
run
because at
Raspberry
no
Pi,
point
it runs
you're going to have the
Arduino,
microcontroller
which makes it kind of
and
interesting.
start
Because
at the same
typically
time.
you use C for that sort of thing.
As soon as you plug this in, it'll switch over.
What's one of the two things it does, as opposed
As soon as you plug in the
C,
charger,
the big thing with
ground's
Rust
connected,
over C is
top's
that
connected,
it is
goes to the relay, to ground,
Uh,
the resistor,
traditionally, in order to
and then
reset
All right,
as that
let's
happens,
let's do that next
pulls the
week.
relay.
Let's figure out.
like, traditionally,
But at no point you're going to have both the charger and the microcontroller at the same time.
Rust is designed.
This is
to
a
achieve
design similar
as
to
good
what I
memory
used
safety as
when
possible
I,
without garbage collection.
it actually,
It does this
use
via
relays
what's
for
called
oscillator.
It is
And
they call it the ownership.
You're using
there are
the
controls that
relay.
you
You're not
use.
using
So
the
basically,
relay module.
it makes
This is a
sure
relay
that
module
you
right
can't
here.
have, under normal
This-
circumstances, you can't have like dangling joiners, you can't have buffer overflow. If you write code that does that, it simply won't compile. And the other thing it does is concurrency, which is traditionally very difficult to do in primitive language like C. And it does this by sort of bringing in some things from functional programming, which means that doing multiple things simultaneously becomes a lot easier than it was
Better.
to and things like
So
that.
basically,
Which makes it
This
kind
is
of
why-
interesting for those kinds of
this
applications.
is exactly why.
Sounds like you need to publish a executive level
This is
summary
exactly how I got
for us
mine.
to see or something like that. And we gotta put everything up, guys.
Usually, the coil is going to be about, several ohms, of course. And you can't charge through several ohms.
So,
You can, it's
not
not reasonable at all.
When power gets,
That's why I went on
So what you gotta do is either get a relay with short radius, another short radius, or go inside the language. So once it switches over, you have other devices in place to deal with that issue.
the battery's still good right now, so I can't even tell you if it's home. Uncharged, even if
Main bill.
If it's charging or, you know what I'm saying. So I gotta wait until the battery gets to the point where it won't do anything before I can even tell if that's what I'm doing is working or not.